All right. Thanks for stopping by, Brandon. I got the spiritual smartass on the line today, and I got my cocktail.
Got my vodka, pure vodka, and some
Uh-huh.
apple cider vinegar to
Oh, nice. Okay.
even things out.
Get your health going. And and I got some questions for you, all right?
Awesome, let's do it.
Okay, so let's just start by kind of telling everybody kind of what you do and, what your focus is in life.
So my focus in life is being a spiritual smartass.
Mm.
I like going deep with people, but I also like sharing that blunt truth, and
Okay.
that's what kind of created the spiritual smartass. But my main focus is to help people. If I could shorten it to like a small phrase, is to help people with their relationships without sacrifice.
Okay.
Because everything that we create in our life is about a relationship.
Okay. I thought relationships were easy.
Maybe some people think that because they just see what's in front of them, and then they just kind of roll with it.
Yeah. Okay. So, one thing I kind of want to start with is because I read your book, the Man of Excellence, and I kind of wanted to start with something that you kind of been through personally, a hardship, maybe people not believing in you at all, and like how you overcame that. Because you at one point you didn't believe in yourself, right?
Right.
Like at all, according to like your little autobiography there. So how did you overcome that?
So it was. I think it's just like a level of pain, like a level of pain of not being satisfied with what's going on in life, and then seeing that there's other options out there from this beautiful information age that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started my journey on personal growth, there wasn't really podcasts, but there was like content, ebooks, emails, and all types of stuff. So I realized, like, wait a minute, I am capable of improving my dating life. I am capable of improving my relationships. Also, like, just being immersed in my passion and purpose. I used to be a rapper in high school, so that was like the little thing that I realized I could keep getting good at, because I sucked at first, but I kept getting better at writing, and I realized, like, well, fuck it, I can kind of be in my own space and do this, and I feel confident that I'm good at something. So it was like the realization that maybe I'm not like an athlete or like academically smart, but venturing into my passion and purpose and learning more personal growth has helped me become more confident in myself.
Right. And so you're confident now, but everyone still kind of struggles, right? Because those subconscious roots go deep, right? Like,
oh yeah,
and they grow back quick if you're not if you're not constantly working on the garden, just ripping that shit out. They pop up quick. So I had a few people have some questions for you, and one, she's just starting to date again, okay?
yeah.
And she ran into this really confident guy that she really likes, okay? But she wants to know, how does she know that this confidence is like genuine and it's not just some mask per se? So I know that we can put on a mask quite easily, right? Especially if we like condition ourselves in different situations. How do you think she could tell if he's being like legit, sincere, or if he's just kind of full of shit trying to impress her?
Usually fake confidence is loud. So it's like, I got this, I got that, like bragging about yourself constantly 24/7. And I feel like real confidence is a little more silent. Like it's more finding more out about that guy rather than him like bragging about shit. Like I was like the top of my class in high school or some crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
So usually fake confidence is loud. And I would also say, like, in my past, I was like, I went through a phase like that too, when I felt like I was getting better at dating. I would walk around like talking all this shit, and I thought I was confident because I put a barrier around my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So if this guy, he like if you find limits within him, and I think that's like a little more as you go on in the relationship, but if you find those limits where he's not willing to get vulnerable, like actually vulnerability is a form of confidence.
Right.
Say that there's a lot of fakeness going on, but I'd also say a lot of people are lying too. Like everyone has their own social mask that they stick to, where they kind of believe it's really them.
Yeah, yeah. I say, they did a study on like alpha males and confidence, like, and they videotaped the situation in a room.
Yeah, and
they had probably like 7-8 guys all work together in a group. And, you could see, like, they're describing it kind of like a narrative. They're like, okay, now this guy walks in, you see his posture, blah, 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 And, like, there was a couple guys in the beginning that they kind of thought they were going to take over the room, because they were the loud ones, like, just, like, taking over, like, trying to take control. But when like, shit hit the fan, there was this quiet, confident elf in the back that was just sitting here watching these guys, like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like, and he would like ask some good key questions here and there. But then when shit hit the fan, he stepped in. He's like, nope, that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna handle it like this because of this, this, and this. And he completely took over. But it was a quiet confidence the whole time until it needed to be assertive, and then he stepped in. And it was like, and then he like completely took over. Like it wasn't like, like kinda. No, he completely took over the entire group, and all these guys are like, ooh, like pounding their chests, like all of a sudden were like submissive and like, and he wasn't like a physically intimidating guy. Sometimes people, might be physically intimidated and people might back off for a minute, but he's just like a normal guy. But it's amazing how the quietness is could be a sign of confidence and vulnerability, right? Like, yeah. So not only is vulnerability kind of a confidence indicator, it's a confidence builder. Because I remember I used to be embarrassed in my life, like just embarrassed. Like I wouldn't tell anybody about my parents, or like, that I was homeless when I was a little kid, and like all this craziness, because I was embarrassed, right? Mm-hmm. But then I like got a couple close friends that I trusted, and I started telling them just a few different things that I went through. They're like, holy shit, dude, that's crazy. Like, I can't believe you are who you are after all that. And it started to give me a little bit of a sense of significance. I'm like, wow, it's like, it's scary sharing it, but it could actually help somebody. Maybe I should start sharing it more. And then, that just kind of built up. And not only that, I can go into any situation, and if I can, like, get my bearings, and I can be completely embarrassed, and I'll be fine with it. Like, I'll go into that area where it's uncomfortable, but I'm just going to go anyways because I'm so used to being uncomfortable, it doesn't matter anymore, So hopefully she'll look out for that stuff, and maybe he's just peacocking around and like pounding his chest. Hopefully not. Hopefully she found a legit guy. So when you first started to get your confidence, right? Especially with like women and like your purpose and like believing in yourself, like a deep, not just a confidence on the outside, but like a deep self-esteem of like knowing who you are. What do you think contributed to that the most?
I would say like what we talked about earlier about vulnerability. Like the more you lean into your fear, that fear starts to die. So there was a false confidence when I tried to hide everything. Yeah. Act like the loud badass, and it's funny because I see a lot of men in the dating community. They're like, I'm alpha as fuck. I'm alpha. But once I started leaning in, like actually being real about where I was at and what my fears were, and leaning into it, like I think the person that gets on stage and says, I'm feeling a little bit fearful today, but then goes on with his performance is a lot more brave than the person who's standing in the back against the wall, like saying, man, if I went up there, I would fucking kill it. So, just getting extremely real with myself and continuing, like just jumping in the pool every day is when I realized, like, oh, this is where the real confidence is at.
Right. So, one thing that's really helped me the most probably is just knowing that like one of the most important values in my life is constant improvement or growth, and just knowing that 95% of people don't try to improve themselves. They don't have goals, right? Like just knowing that you're in the 5% of thinkers is like, it's very empowering, because no matter what the situation is, if you tackle it and you just decide, I'm going to constantly get better at this until I master it, like there's nothing that can stop that. It's like compound interest, right? It just, at some point it explodes, and here you are, you're like, I have no idea how I ended up here, but I'll take it. And that can go in any area of your life, right? Relationships, work, like your self-esteem, like, and self-esteem is kind of developed through action, Like, I always tell so I have a brother that's about 250 pounds, just a huge bodybuilder, right? He's using that to build his self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
But it's, at that point, it's just superficial, but it's a gateway to find out true self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I tell him is like, be sure you're not doing it only to develop self-esteem. It's a gateway to get there and find out about yourself. But like true self-esteem, you don't need to lift weights. Like you accept yourself exactly for who you are, but on top of that, you constantly try to improve. So at what point did you kind of go through the tipping point where you're like, okay, I feel good about who I am?
It's a good question. It was like when it was beyond the skill sets of realizing like, okay, because when I got in personal development, it was around dating. And it was beyond the skill sets of wondering like what the perfect thing to say to a woman is, and learning the inner game. Mm-hmm. Like learning there's like things I get to change within myself to attract what I want. And it was just at this point of like a deep level of self-love and a deep level of presence with the people I was with, rather than trying to get something. Mm-hmm. So that's when I really realized it, when I was trying to provide value in my relationships, instead of always trying to get something from somebody, or always like trying to get a certain result, or being outcome dependent. That's when like everything entirely shifted for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So did you ever go through the process of the reason you felt good was only because you were in a relationship and you finally got the girl? Or like, yeah, you kind of became like, early on, you kind of became codependent. So whatever they reflected onto you, that's kind of like what you valued. And if you went through like a breakup or an issue like that, you're just like, oh, shit, I'm worthless. Like, have you ever experienced anything like that?
Yeah. That was like the main breakup that started me on my journey. It had me in a point where I'm like pointing the finger at her. I'm like, you fucking bitch, you betrayed me and all this stuff, and like thinking that she was the cheater and all this stuff. Yeah. And then when I started getting deeper with that, I'm like realizing like, oh shit, I have like, oh yeah, I did that. That's a red flag. Oh, I did that. And then I was able to own my own actions. Mm-hmm. And a huge shift happened for me when I was able to come from a place of forgiveness for that woman. We dated for like about 3 years, and thank God I wasn't like old enough where I was planning marriage or anything like that. It was just a breakup. But I got my ass kicked by the guy that she left me for, because I tried to start a fight with him, got my ass kicked. It was actually I wasn't fit. I ran out of breath. So fitness was like one of the main things I started. Yeah. That was a good motivation. But yeah, like just being able to clear that energy and realize like, oh, this is a reflection of what's going on within me, mm-hmm. rather than thinking that life is happening to me and this person entered my life, and I accepted this relationship just because it was there, or it was like by a circumstance.
Right. Gotcha. So what do you think mistrust or like lack of trust comes from? Do you think it comes from the person Because I think truly it comes from internal, not feeling good enough. And there might have been some actions that led up to that throughout your life or whatever, like your ex has cheated on you or whatever. Maybe your current boyfriend or girlfriend cheated on you. You're trying to work through it, and like at some point, I just didn't care if someone cheated on me. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, if they cheat on me, like I know exactly what I bring to the table. It's definitely their loss if they decide to do that. And the people that are like constantly worried, there's something internal not matching up. Like they feel like they're not good enough. And in my opinion, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. So when you're pointing the finger at somebody, you can't do it without 3 fingers pointed back at
Right.
you. So when you're yeah, when you're saying like, I don't trust this person, it's because you don't trust yourself.
Right.
That could even be a level of you don't trust yourself to be able to get another relationship in your life, or like there's like a codependency there that you're leaning on that relationship, that it's like part of your survival.
Yeah.
And that even goes way back into history of like rejection being this like fear of being kicked out of the tribe and
Right.
having to go alone and getting killed by some wild animals, but that's like another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a big part of me when I was creating the relationship I'm in now, like in the middle of like there's 5 years in the middle between my 2 major relationships. There was a big fear that like, do I really trust myself to be in this relationship, or do I trust these new skill sets that I have?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of trust issues I got to work within myself before I created a healthier relationship.
Mm-hmm. And what changed to all of a sudden kind of get to that level of trust?
I would say being able to like be by myself and love myself, like being single rather than thinking that I needed someone else.
Yeah, I heard someone say once, being alone isn't that bad if you like the person you're with.
Yeah.
You know, like I love being alone now.
I just stopped giving a fuck if I got cheated on, or because the last relationship I would worry about getting cheated on or what she's doing or whatever,
Yeah.
and trying to keep tabs, and I just lost, like, of course it would hurt if I found out my girlfriend now would cheated on me or whatever, but I lost that fear or like that giving a fuck, like, well, if it had, like, I don't need to search someone's phone or their Facebook or try to figure it out. It's like, well, if it happens, then I'll pick myself up, and I'm the one who created this relationship. It's not some luck that happened, and you know, it wasn't by luck. It was just because of the skill that I have. Like, part of that's like the skill that you have too. Like when you learn that you're confident and you have that skill set, it's like, well, you know, I can create that. I can create that over and over again.
Right. My wife always wonders why I'm not jealous. Like, guys might try to flirt with her or whatever, and I'm just like, it makes sense. I mean, I understand why they're flirting with you. Like, with the guys, you're a woman. Like, it's kind of how it works. She's like, I wish you'd get jealous sometimes. I'm like, for what? I'm like, I know this clown's not going to take you away from me. Like, and then I tell her, I'm like, there's a difference between jealousy, I'm like, and protectiveness. I'm like, I'll step in if someone's being disrespectful to you or to me and it's making us uncomfortable. But if a guy's just flirting with you, whatever, I'll let him get shot down. That's not a big deal. And I'm like, and if you guys end up falling in love or running off, like, it is what it is. Like, I that's fine. Like,
I'll cry a tear for you.
Like, it is what it is. Like, I know that, like, if that makes you happy, there's something that I did, or there was some kind of lack of variety, or like there's a lack of certainty within our relationship that either we need to handle or we need to move on. Like, and we're married now, so we kind of handle everything. So
I like that, though. It's perfect feedback when something like that happens, even if it was unexpected. Like, Leslie just left me tomorrow with some
Yeah.
dude, I'd
Dear
check
John.
in with myself and be like, where did I slip up here? Like, where did the attraction go south, or whatever it may be? I think anytime you get cheated on can be a learning experience of like, in what ways have I cheated myself in this relationship, and how did that happen?
Right. So a lot of it. So basically, everything starts with you.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you feel the need to go through someone's phone, it's because you don't believe in yourself, according to like how someone treated you.
Yeah, and I have clients who, their man would cheat on her, because I work with women clients now too. But like, her man would cheat on her, and then he's all insecure about like, what's going on with you? Are you cheating on me?
Oh yeah.
It's like, because if you smelt it, you dealt it. So if you're going out cheating on your partner, then all of a sudden you think that she's cheating on you or he's cheating on you.
Yep, completely. Okay, let me see. I got some more questions for you here. Someone said, so I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to get your feedback. She says, how do you overcome, how do you stay positive when everyone around you is negative or going nowhere or downhill?
You just gotta cut the ropes. Like, I don't know if you followed me on Facebook a month ago, but when I was purging out my friends list, but I was saying like some of the realest shit just so people would flock away, and that's why I believe in like being the realest version of yourself, where the fake people just want to leave. So I've had many times in my life where it's like, okay, it's time for some spring cleaning, and take some inventory, like who's adding to my life and who's there to drain my energy.
Mm-hmm.
And creating that clear boundary is what's going to serve you in a powerful way. Right.
So I always say if you're looking at 4 idiots in a room, there's actually 5.
Yep.
Like if you're willing to like put so much time and effort into people that are constantly negative or like sucking the life out of you, then that comes down to self-esteem again. like if you don't have a good enough self-esteem to realize that these people shouldn't be allowed to dictate how you feel or where you're going in life, like you got to step out of that circle.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't love them or anything like that. Like, I have plenty of awesome memories with old friends, and there's time I'll set aside for them if they want to reach out and they want to talk on like empowering conversation.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't cut people out where it's like, you can't, like, I'm too good for you or I'm on my high horse.
Right.
It's like, here's my boundaries and what I want to talk about and the things that, the type of relationship that I want with people. Mm-hmm. And if it's not win-win, then it's got to go.
Right. Because unfortunately, no matter how high our standards are, if we're hanging out with 4 or 5 people that all have super low standards, yep. Eventually, it's 4-on-1, 5-on-1. Like, eventually you're going to start kind of like, you know what, I just want to smoke weed and eat Twinkies all day. Like, eventually you might go down that road and not get anything done, right? Like, you got to pull yourself out of that and be like, okay, this is what's important to me. So then, we got to hang out with people that are, like, have the same goals as us, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so hopefully she understands that. So what do you do if your parents have never really believed in you or encouraged you, or you just had like a shitty like parent relationship? Like, what do you do with that? Like, I know I've been through some of that. You've been through some of that. What's your opinion on that situation?
Yeah, I think I went deep into that chapter 10.
Yeah.
A big thing is having a sense of detachment from, like, I could give a fuck less what my parents think of me or like what they think I should be, but also having an appreciation of like the lessons you've learned from your parents. So a mixture of that, because like your relationship with your mother, that has like a big thing to do with how you operate in your relationships, and then your relationship with your father is a big way of how you operate with business, money, and expressing yourself. So I came to a place where I step up for myself and I create my boundaries. Like, a big thing I noticed with my dad was like I just kind of let him have his beliefs, and like there's a part of detachment and letting him have his journey, but if he crosses that boundary, I've stepped up for myself and said, hey, that's not cool to say that. So a little bit of not giving a fuck what they think, but also appreciating them for what they offered in your life, and how they raised you and what lessons they taught.
Right. And then also probably thanking them for being so driven, right? In a weird way, like, it's like, as shitty as it might be, like, something about them, like, made you work hard so you could feel significant. Like I worked so hard when I was in high school at football because I wanted to feel significant, right?
Yeah.
And then one of the biggest letdowns I have, I'm like collecting my all-conference awards and like all this stuff, and like I literally have no one at the banquet, just me. Like, and I see all the other parents like hugging their sons that did well and blah blah blah, and I'm just sitting there like, sweet, like, thank you.
That scene in Austin Powers 3.
Yeah. And
Dad.
and it's and like that was really hurtful, right? Because not only that, when I first started playing sports, something my dad or my stepdad did accidentally, he'd be like, why don't you give up on that shit and get a real job? Why don't you come do construction with me, or paint, or like come do this, or like manual labor? He's like, that shit's bringing you nowhere. And then I just said, screw that, I'm going to keep doing it, and then 4 or 5 years later, they didn't go to, they didn't show up for a single game. And I'm just like, dude, like, so that driving me, I took that so I went from football, and then I kind of like, I fucked up for about the next 6 years of my life and just kind of coasted around and like chased women, drank too much, fought everybody, went to jail, like just some, just that time in my life where I'm like, I'm trying to feel significant. And at this point, the only way I know how is by like trying to kick this guy's ass, or like, try to get with that woman, or like, and I have to thank them for making me so driven, right? Because it started as like a journey for significance. I wanted to feel significant somehow. And then I started being vulnerable, and that helped me feel significant because it like helped, it started to empower other people. And then like I started to develop all these references, and I started like developing like a sense of self, kind of every time I hit bottom, hit my face on the bottom, wake up, I'm like, okay, time to regroup, I don't know, just crazy how things work out like that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the reason why I was a class clown and always just getting in fights or getting jumped in high school and all this types of crazy shit.
Yeah.
Really what it comes down to is like I think a lot of people can relate to that, but like someone with like big goals and dreams with parents are like, just be an electrician, or like, why are you doing that dumb shit? Because at some point in their life, they had these big dreams and then they were let down. And then they're reflecting that upon you. Like I had this squad leader who was kind of like a father figure, maybe even worse, maybe an uglier experience than my dad. But he was like, he would shoot down like any type of dream that I had, because like I was with him in Egypt for like a year. But come to find out is he wanted to be in the NFL, and he fucking fell flat.
Yeah.
Because he was too short or something like that. So then anyone else with the dream is like, no, fuck you, don't do that.
Yeah. It's like the old crab in the bucket syndrome, right?
Yep.
One crab's about to make it out, the rest of them say, no, get the fuck back here. You're not going anywhere.
Like because if you succeed, you're going to make them feel insignificant.
Right.
Or, well, you're not going to make them feel that, but they're going to feel that you make them feel that because you're showing that image for them.
Right. All right, so let's turn this around a little bit. What questions do you have for me, or what? Yeah, just ask me any question. I'll give you my answer.
So, what motivated you to start the Coaches and Cocktails?
What motivated me? It's a bunch of things, right? So, I've tried a podcast before around things that I was good at. I did very well with management. So I started this podcast called The Modern Boss, right? Where I sit down and I interview managers and try to understand their best practices and their mindset and stuff. But then after about 50 interviews, I realized that, damn, most of these people have no desire to get better. They're like, it's like they're kind of given their position. They're given their position because they have the most dominating personality and they're good at pointing out mistakes. But like, they still didn't have like top managers. I'd be like, "What's your favorite management book?" They're like, "Oh, I've never really read a book." I'm just like, okay, if you have any desire to improve, like you at least have one book that's kind of like molded your philosophy at some point in life, right? So the Coaches and Cocktails, I just kept thinking like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I'm like, damn, if I could just paint the perfect picture, I would love to just sit down and talk to people that have been through shitstorms themselves, figure out how they got out of it, and somehow get paid for that. So, that's the perfect dream, is having conversations like this and trying to figure out, how to make a living from it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And, this stuff gives me energy, right? And I know the people listening are getting value from it, because they might be at rock bottom right now, and maybe something we say triggers them to like get back up, start the process over again, mend their relationship, whatever the case is. So really it's about, I just want to hang out with people that have been through the shit, that can provide value and find a way to make a living from it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what was your major wake up moment?
Ooh, I've had a few of them. Well, okay, so I've had probably two major ones. Okay, so one of them was like, so I grew up like watching my mom be abused all the time, and like she was like, we went through a really hard time at some point where she was actually like, she had like a, I don't want to do any disrespect to my mom, but she had a pimp, and like she was out like trying to earn a living, I guess you could say, and like these guys just hit her and like talk shit to her. And I've seen her like in situations where multiple guys took what they want situation, and I was too little to do anything about it. And so what that kind of led to is an excuse to beat everybody's ass. Once I put on some muscle, and I'm like, because I was always a scrapper, because I had to be, right? Like, I grew up in like poverty. Like, there's a lot of times in school I was the minority. Like, I had to learn how to fight. It didn't matter if I was big or small. I just fought all the time, right? So then, as an adult, when I see men being disrespectful to women in front of me, I can't mind my own business. Like, and one time it got to a situation where I told the guy, like, he was being an asshole to his ex-girlfriend, and my buddy's like, "Hey, Mike, will you bring her home? Like, he doesn't want to go home with, or she doesn't want to go home with him." I was like, "Yeah, I'll bring her home." And the guy comes over to me and headbutts me. Like, "You're not going to fucking bring her home, blah, blah, blah." So I punch him. And I ended up breaking his jaw and like all kinds of stuff. And I ended up getting charged with a felony, and I went to jail for like a while. And so that was a wake-up call that, I didn't have to punch the guy. I probably could just stop him from like disrespecting or being rude to the woman and just kind of leave it at that. But instead, for some reason, I always had to fight. Like, it always had to come down to like fighting, like. And then as I'm in jail, I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, damn, fucked up again. I'm in trouble again. Like, my whole life I've been in trouble. Like, either getting kicked out of class or like fighting or like just little things like that. So I'm sitting in jail. I'm like, well, this can either make me better or worse. And I don't know what kind of told me that. It was also kind of around another wake up call. So it was all between like 23 and 26. Like, that region in life, I had a couple different wake up calls, but that was definitely one of them. So now, like, when I see something going on, I'm like, damn, like, this guy's gonna make me go to jail. Like, woosah, just relax. It's okay. And then the other one was, okay, so just to give you a brief overview, I was the kid that never did anything in school, no homework. Like, the only time I do homework is if, like, it was my graduation, like, depended on it, like, or if I was about to get kicked off the football team, I'd quick, do some stuff. And normally it was probably find a way to cheat and, like, figure it out that way, right? Never read a book in my life. Like, even when, like, they're assigned for school, I'd find someone to, like, give me the answers, And, like, even in college, I went to college only to play football, like, because that's the only thing I was good at, really. So, I was the kid that in college, I stole the ethics final from the professor, and I made copies of it and gave it to my whole class. Like, that's how I made it through school. And,
like you gave to others, so that's good.
Yeah. And so then one day, I took a job that my friend kind of talked me into, a sales job. And so, low self-esteem, fearful of death or rejection, being abandoned, right? Don't want to ask for people's money. Like, just a disaster for a sales position, right? So I'm like, damn it. Like, a couple days prior to this, I thought about, like, killing myself. I was, like, in a real dark place, right? Can't do anything right. Like, maybe my parents are right. Maybe I can't do shit right. Like, all these recordings in my head, right? And then I was driving home, and I heard a voice. I was like, that's weird. So when I was young, I was 10 years old and kind of sleeping. I was homeless with my little brother, and I was sleeping kind of near this homeless man. And one day he just freaked out at me because I said I can't, right? I was like, oh, I can't do it. He's like, don't you ever say that. And he started, like, freaking out at me. And I'm like a 10-year-old kid. I'm like, what the, I'm like, oh, say what? He's like, don't say you can't do it. He's like, you want to know why I'm homeless? Because I chose drugs and alcohol over my wife, over my business. He's like, you can do anything you want to if you just have ability to constantly try at it. Just constantly get better, constantly get better. And he's like, what else? He's like, I'm going to get all my shit back once I stop feeling sorry for myself. He's like, but it's my fault I'm here, nobody else's. I was like, okay. Never thought about the guy again, right? I'm 23, 24, driving home. I hear this guy's voice all of a sudden. I'm like, God. I'm like, that's so weird. Like, why in the hell is all of a sudden this guy in my head? So, for the first time ever, I don't even know why, I'm like, okay, how do you get better at sales? I'm like, I have no idea. Because this place that hired me isn't doing any training. Like, so I went to Barnes & Noble for the first time. Like, the kid that hates reading, right? I barely can read. I don't know what the hell the words are. Like, dyslexic. It takes me forever to read. That's why I avoided it, right? I pick up this book called The Best Damn Sales Book Ever. I read it. I start to get better. And then 6-7 years later, I'm VP of sales for some other company. I moved on. So the wake-up moment was like, at that moment, the teacher appeared and said, you can do anything, just constantly improve. And take responsibility for your own bullshit, right?
Hell yeah.
And then my life's never been the same since then. Of course, I've hit bottom a few times and, like, gone through my situations, but...
Yeah, I imagine through those 7 years, it's been like, fuck!
Yeah, many times. Like, because you try to reinvent yourself,
your head against the wall moments.
Yeah. You try to reinvent yourself after so many... Like, after mastering a skill of sales, I'm like, okay, now what can I get better at? Then I was able to coach people, and then I was able to implement sales processes and make it so that basically somebody with no skills at all could be successful. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to work for anybody. And then I go into the entrepreneurship, and then I freaking crash and burn in front of my fiance at the time. And I'm like, no, don't worry, babe, I got it handled. Like, and then you bounce back up. And like, maybe I was chasing the wrong thing. Like, maybe I wasn't doing what I love. Like, maybe I wasn't having these kind of conversations, right?
Right.
So, like, the reinvention is just over and over and over. And what it comes down to is just doing what, like, gives you more energy than takes it away. Like as far as, like, working on websites, I know how to do it, but it's just, like, draining. I'm just like I'd rather hire someone from the Philippines to whip it up in 10 minutes than me spend hours trying to figure out like how to route servers and all kinds of crazy shit, you know?
You're like doing drywall in your house.
Yeah, no, like I'll hire someone for that. Like maybe I should learn how to do it, but whatever.
Fuck that.
Yeah, so it's been quite the journey. I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta do a movie.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. You know, there's a very so many movies have like kind of inspired me to get back up, like Rocky, like Pursuit of Happiness, like I like Limitless, like all these different movies I like kind of like gut check. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we're getting kind of late here. 40 minutes in. So,
oh yeah. It was a good time.
Yeah, no, I had fun. So, hopefully people got some value from this. Where can they find you online, or if they want to work with you, you know, what's the situation like?
I would say the best place to look on Facebook, Brandon Havener.
Uh-huh.
I keep it pretty simple. But there's also, like, if you want to see, like, different platforms I'm on, go to clixo.com, and
Okay.
that's CLYXO. I'm sure it'll be texted in some comment form below
correct.
or something like that.
Yeah.
/ I never behave.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's exactly how it's said and spelled. It's all one word. I never behave.
Okay, gotcha. All right, any last words of advice for all the people out there going through their own version of hell?
Wear a condom.
There it is. Hey, that's smart.
And if you don't go within, you go without. I think that's a big one. You know, we were talking about today is like always look within instead of thinking that it's outside of you.
Right. Well, you don't have control of other things.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing you have control over is how you are and how you react to things that are.
Yeah, it's just like if the homeless man told you, "Oh, be a victim of circumstance," then you'd be like in a whole other path right now. You wouldn't be having this call.
I'm like, everything should be free. Life sucks. Like, I want free school. I would, you know, like, I should have the perfect relationship without working at it. All right, man. I appreciate you. If you know anybody else that would like to sit down and have a chat like this, refer them to me, and we'll do the same thing.
Awesome. Well.